Notice how she's not presenting herself as this fucking yokel with this like aggressive, quote unquote, fake Michigan accent that no Michigander I've ever encountered says is authentic to Michigan. Here.
Think there should be conditions on the aid the United States sends to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv?
Absolutely not. I'm not for
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
Conditions, particularly in this circumstance. That's what detractors of Israel are pushing for. And we have a country,
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
a very close ally.
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
I've been thinking about this a lot. And I think Haley Stevens is very intelligent. I think Haley Stevens is specifically beefing up the I'm a yokel who loves Michigan for one reason and one reason only. Her accent and her entire outfit, her entire persona is a love letter to Michigan. This is her own assessment, right? This is the way she wants to present herself. So whenever she's asked hard questions, not this, by the way, because back then this wasn't a hard answer for her. But if she were to be asked the same exact question now, which she was a couple days ago, she just goes, oh, yeah, well, I love Michigan. You already know. I'm just, there's a lot of great people in Michigan who, in our communities. I love our communities in Michigan. And then she never answers the fucking question. And we haven't noticed this. She is such a fucking politician, dude. I think she hasn't been hit on this as much because we're so focused on her like weird like yokel sensibilities, right? The way she presents herself is like a real hardworking Michigander, a little bit of stick it to him, right? Like she does that as a deflection. She does that as a fucking deflection, dude. Straight up. She talks like she's a Youper, but she's from Rochester. I do not get it. Yeah, she's doing it on purpose. I think she's doing it on purpose where they're like, oh, everyone's clowning on her because she says, Maddie Maroon. Okay? Here, look at this question. This, and then the other question about aid to Israel. Mill Hayes actually cooked her ass. Okay? Mill Hayes had two very good questions for her, and both of these questions were not fucking answered, and I don't think people are paying close attention. We're dropping the ball a little bit. I think more people, I think more people should pay attention to what Haley Stevens doesn't say, not how she says it. She wants you to pay attention to how she speaks. She doesn't want you to pay attention to the fact that she's not answering any fucking questions. Okay? Listen to this. Representative Haley Stevens responds to concerns over continued U.S. aid to Israel. In contrast, her position with Democratic primary opponent Dr. Abdullah Sayed, who has called for ending military aid to Israel.
Those people who are concerned about continued U.S. aid to Israel, what would you want them to know?
Well, I'm very proud that my constituent just recognized my support for Jewish Americans who feel very...
Boom, immediate deflection. Oh, well, well, Jewish Americans really like my position on this issue. What's your position on this issue? Didn't answer. Didn't answer what her position is. Didn't answer the question. What do you have to say to your constituents that are not supportive of your position on Israel, but actually have a very negative attitude about your position on Israel, considering that the overwhelming majority of your constituents want you to stop aid to Israel, which you voted against. You voted against the Massey Amendment this past week against the interest of your constituents who are overwhelmingly demanding you cut aid to Israel. What do you have to say to that? That's the question. And immediately she goes back to, oh, well, Jewish Americans feel some type of way. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not true either. Jewish Americans also want to cut aid to Israel. That's a fucking lie.
Very targeted right now, that anti-Semitism is rising. I didn't get a chance to ask him.
What the fuck does that have to do with conditioning aid to Israel? What the fuck does that have to do with conditioning aid to Israel? You still have not answered the question.
How he is doing. I'm going to go back and do that. We had a temple that was blown up by a terrorist.
What does this have to do with conditioning aid to Israel? Again, 3 talking points. None of it has addressed. What do you say to your constituents? What do you say to your constituents who want you to cut aid to Israel?
terrorist actor, and it's a tough time. And here in Michigan, we've got robust and incredible diversity. And my heart has gone out, and I've spoken out for the people of Lebanon, innocent people.
This question is not about what are your feelings about the victims of Israel. This question is, what are you going to fucking say to your constituents who don't want you to send aid to Israel, who are worried about your allegiance to the state of Israel? There's no answer here. And she does this all the time. And even I didn't realize that she was just constantly fucking avoiding these direct questions. She never answers direct questions. The first journalist, free ball for all the reporters out here. I know some of you are local, you're watching. I know some of you and your producers are in here right now. Free money for you, free ball for you. Get her on a single fucking issue. Get her on one thing. One thing. It doesn't matter what it is. If you can get her on Israel, excellent. One thing. Free money for you. Free ball for you. It will be great in your resume. She never answers questions. She never answers direct questions with a direct answer.
In Lebanon, our incredible Lebanese American community here in Michigan. We've got remarkable business leaders, small businesses, several Lebanese American chambers here in Michigan, Lebanese restaurants who were
I love eating. I love eating at Lebanese restaurants. Like, what the fuck? Why is she not answering the question? Answer the fucking question. I don't care if you love labneh and you prefer it to hummus. Why do we give a shit? The question is not about that.
Standing up alongside congregants of that temple, making sure that families had food. And I'm in the business.
Yeah, and the more she refuses to answer the questions, the more she fucking puts the twang in there, okay? Yeah, we've had Michigan food. Lebanon. The more she fucking runs away, the more she fucking gets asked a direct question that she doesn't want to answer, the more she fucking goes, it's the Michigan way! Vladimir Putin!
Of bringing people together. The difference between me and my Democratic primary opponent, Abdul, is that Abdul refuses to acknowledge the two-state solution.
Yeah, and then he turns around and goes, Abdul, my opponent, Abdul. Yeah, she is. Brother, it just hit me. She's the Wisconsin woman, Boris Johnson. Yeah, she's doing the same technique that Boris Johnson expertly rode to victory.
Not only do I want safety in Lebanon and dignity for the people of Lebanon, I want that for Palestine. I want that for Gaza. I do not believe a one-state solution gets us anywhere closer to long-term peace. It is very clear that Mr. Net.
Are you saying Haley Stevens is akin to Boris Johnson? I think Haley Stevens is a lot smarter than she lets on. And this is an expert strategy for her to be like, I'm just a dumb yokel. Wow, look at me. Like, she literally uses this as a way to never answer the question. And then people don't even fucking realize that she just danced around the subject. If she was like Pete Buttigieg, if she spoke like Pete Buttigieg, people will go, oh, I know what you're doing. You're fucking phony. This is a style. This is something that a lot of politicians deploy. Kennedy in Louisiana does this. Boris Johnson in England did this. George Bush II did this as well. I don't know. I'm kind of dumb. I don't know. Whatever. Like, this is a classic technique. Pete Buttigieg, on the other hand, cannot do it, right? Because his academic pedigree renders him unable to present himself like a fucking yokel. J.D. Vance is the same thing. He tries to do it and he fails to do it. J.D. Vance can't present himself like that because he's too Yale coded. Okay? So when J.D. Vance gets in there and goes, yuck, you know me, oh, my wife, sure. When he does that, when J.D. Vance does that, everybody goes, bitch, shut the fuck up. You went to Yale. You sound like you went to Yale. Stop doing this shit. Haley Stevens, on the other hand, is a very good politician. And I don't mean that that's a good thing for us, and that's not a good thing for Michiganders. She is capable of dancing around these issues, but people, when people watch her speak, okay? When people watch her speak, when people hear her talk, they're too focused on the accent, and it develops. It's a speech pattern that she deploys, in my opinion, to create this facade that she's just like the average person.
across Michigan. I am trying to lead. I am trying to lead with consistency.
Like 2 minutes and 10 seconds, no answer to the fucking question. Here, let's look at this one. Again, Haley Stevens on Senator Bernie Sanders, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez campaigning in Michigan this weekend for her Democratic primary opponent, Dr. Abdul Sayed, in the U.S. Senate race. What do you have to say to the supporters? If you win, what do you have to say to the supporters of Abdul al-Sayed? Look at what she says here.
This rally tomorrow with Sanders and AOC for your opponent. There are a lot of people in the Democratic Party that are looking for that progressive kind of movement.
Yeah.
How would you try to bring those people in?
I'm just curious if, Mr. Sanders is willing to acknowledge the great work that I did.
What? How are you going to bring the progressives into your movement? If you win, how are you going to bring in the progressives to your movement? That's not an answer to that question. This is a real concern. This is precisely how Hillary lost Michigan. This is precisely how Kamala lost Michigan, by avoiding the progressive flank in Michigan, right? This is how Joe Biden won Michigan, by leaning in to the progressive forces. So it's a real concern. There have been numerous instances where Michigan is now, there have been numerous failures in the last decade that Michigan is now seen as a purple state when it's not supposed to be. It's part of the fucking blue safe haven, right? It's supposed to be a part of the blue wall. It's no longer a part of the blue wall because of this exact problem. So the question that was asked is very specific. What do you say? How are you going to bring in the progressives into your movement if you win? Her answer is, I'm just curious, Bernie never. What do you mean?
I'm just curious if, Mr. Sanders is willing to acknowledge the great work that I did alongside President Obama on the auto rescue. He had just himself gotten into the United States Senate, and I don't remember him being around for the auto rescue, but I certainly remember our sleeves being rolled up to save the.
That's not the question. That's your pitch. That's your campaign pitch. That's you attacking Bernie Sanders. The question is, how are you going to win over their fans if you win the fucking primary?
200,000 Michigan jobs to stand up for working people and to do the right thing. And I'm also really proud of the record that I have. I have been recognized as the most effective lawmaker for Michigan because I write laws and I pass laws and I make a difference.
This is not an answer. Do you want her to win? Stop giving her tips. Wait, what? I'm not giving her tips. The fuck? I'm unloading. I'm giving the journalist tips on how to ask better questions. Nail her on an answer. Ask her to actually give a clear-cut answer. Treat her like you would Abdul. Reporters never let their subjects get away with this level of deflection when it's someone who's insurgent left. Yeah, there's nothing. No answer.